Joining me now is Democratic House Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, who's a lifelong Catholic, just recently attended the funeral of Pope Francis. She's also the New York Times bestselling author of The Art of Power. Speaker Pelosi, thanks for being here. I understand you were at the airport in Washington when Pope Leo's election was announced. What was that moment like as everyone realized what was happening?
Well, we were not early, everybody found out at the same time, but as soon as we found out there was white smoke, I said, there's white smoke, and people were so excited. I don't know whether they were Catholics or not, but they were all excited. And then it was later that we found out that it was an American Pope, and for me to find out that he took the name Leo the 14th was even more exciting.
Why for you was that so important?
Well, you know, we never know how a pope is going to be. They set their own path. We love Francis for the path he took. Pope Leo will take his own path. But he gave us a clue when he said Leo the 14th, because the Leo the 13th was a champion for poor people, for workers. His encyclical Rerum Novarum of new things was about workers' rights and fair wages and working conditions and joining unions, the right to join unions, in addition to caring so much for people who had needs, And he was a diplomat and a peaceful person of peace. So when he took that name, I thought, that is not a casual association. But again, being close to Francis and taking Leo the 13th name, he will make his own mark, and that will be very exciting, as they both did.
I've heard you talk about your mom before, and I know she was a huge role model for you. She was born in Italy, later immigrated to the United States. You were raised in a very staunch Catholic family. What do you think she would have thought about an American pope?
Very exciting, very exciting. But also recognizing that this pope, an American pope, is a global pope, spending so much time in Peru, ministering to the needs of the poor, which is, of course, the mission of the Gospel of Matthew. So she would have been thrilled at an American pope, but one who shared the values of the Gospel.
It was so interesting.
She had the book of, she had the book of John Paul next to her bed, and she would read from it regularly, even though she had read it completely. So following the work of the popes was important to our family.
When did she come to the U.S.? Because I was thinking about Pope Leo died, I think, in 1903. When did she come to the U.S.?
She wasn't born yet.
Wow.
She wasn't born yet. Her family was in the United States.
Oh,
they went back to Italy to visit family, and she was born when they went.
Oh, I think we lost the feed. We fixed our technical issues. Apologies for that. Got Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi back. Thanks so much for sticking around. The Pope did speak a bit in English today. I was struck that yesterday he chose to speak in Italian and Spanish from the balcony of St. Peter's, not emphasizing his American roots. I'm wondering, did that signal anything to you?
Yes, I think he was communicating a message that he was there for everyone. And his English, of course, was perfect, and American English. And then, of course, speaking in Italian, which is the language of the Vatican, and then Spanish to send that message to Peru that his connection was still real there. So this is a pope that knows how to communicate with the people. It's so thrilling to see him do that. In terms of his work in Peru was to work with the poor, and his message with Leo the 13th is to work with the poor, and his message with Francis was to follow in his work to work with the poor, but in his own way. And showing the three languages, I think it's important for people to know that this is going to be a unifying pope. Right from the start, when he was elected early in the first real day of elections, one day for one vote, but then the next day, overwhelming vote from the start.
It's also so interesting that it was a vote by a college of cardinals, which the majority of whom had been become cardinals under Pope Francis, and the majority of them now come from the global south, not from Europe and the global north. And yet they chose, that's what's so surprising to me, that all these people from the global south chose this cardinal from America, but who also has spent much of his life, as you said, in Peru and is fluent in Spanish and has devoted his life to reaching out to people.
And His Holiness Pope Francis also appointed from Asia, from other parts of the world, non-European, non-American, but nonetheless someone who had it all. He was American. He's a Peruvian citizen, and he spoke Spanish, as we know, and he worked with the poor in Peru, and he had standing in the Vatican. He knew the process, and so he'll be able to manage that, communicate with the people, and I hope bring people together as a pope should do, popes have done. We're so proud of him. As I know, so many people are telling me all the ways that they were connected to him, this, that, and the other thing in our country. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
Speaker Pelosi, thank you so much for your time, and my best to your husband as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.